I would like for you to just introduce yourself so that we are more familiar with you.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Right. My name is Bandi Swaifu. Indor is my surname. Born and bred in the Eastern Cape. I'm a fashion designer by profession. Yeah, that's my small business. I registered my business professionally in 2019. No, between it was 2018. Sorry, 2018. Yeah. Born and bred in the Eastern Cape. I currently reside in Pretoria, but then I always come to the Eastern Cape for job hustling, because my business does not limit me in like one place. Because Snemigiti and all those things. So every June, every December, I have to go home, hustle. Otherwise, yeah, I'm that simple.
Awesome.
A Christian girl, importantly.
Come again?
I'm a born again Christian, most importantly.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you. What got you started? Like, how did you get started? Why did you even get started in this?
Fashion designing for me is a calling. Like, I would describe it like that. It's not something that I just woke up and chose. It's something that I just had a passion for.
Yeah.
I don't remember what age I started designing, but what I know is that I took it from my mom. My mother was and still is a professional nurse, right? But then she was a seamstress. I'm not sure whether she was doing it as a side hustle or she was just doing it as something that she loves as well. But one thing I know is that I took it from her. So I used to design dolls when I was still young. So it's something that I grew, and I knew that this is what I want, this is what I want to be. So it started from there. I never questioned what I wanted to be when I was still young.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me and fashion designing.
So when you're saying fashion design, what type of apparel do you design?
I'm not limited, like I always call myself as a seasonal designer. I do. Even right now, we do mostly like modern tradition and stuff, those styles.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I'm doing right now. But I'm not limited to that. I'm very creative, number one, so I can just like come up with anything at any given moment. So I love new challenges. That's why I call myself like a seasonal designer, because if there's a new trend, there's a new style, I adopt to that and then I move with that. So I don't box myself and say I'm a Ankara designer only. I can use any kind of fabric, any tradition, any tribe of fabric. So yeah, I'm a seasonal designer. That's even.
Has fashion, you being a fashion designer, always been a thing? Have you done anything else besides that? Or has it just been just fashion design?
It has only been fashion designing, but when you're starting a business, right? It always has like those unexpected challenges. So I think for me, straight out of varsity, I wanted to go straight to fashion designing. But then the reality of that was quite challenging. So I went to work for Woolies clothing department. And then while I was still there, I decided Woolworths clothing design. So while I was still there, I decided, this is not my thing. Let me just go and take a leap of faith and just do what I want. And then yeah.
Has it been worth it?
It has been worth it. It has been worth it, especially if you love something. You are not driven by the amount of money it brings mostly, but the amount of peace you get. I think the peace and the joy that you have when you're doing such things, money comes after, so I'm at peace in doing what I love. So yeah.
Does it sustain you though? Does your industry, do you think for small players or small businesses, is it worth going in, let's say, to sustain yourself financially? I mean, to sustain the business itself?
It's sustainable. I mean, clothes are forever. Making clothes, you're gonna make clothes forever. People need clothes all the time. But the challenging part about it is that it's time consuming. The amount of money you make depends on the time that you put in it. And you can't design 24 hours, So,
True.
yeah, you can't. And let's say you're making a dress um, this week, you're only going to get that amount of money for this week. So you have to squeeze time and work fast to accumulate a lot of money. So I think the only challenging part is time. Designing is flowing. I don't want to lie.
Yeah.
The challenging part about it is the money that has to come in. You don't have the time to make that amount of money.
But you
But
think
it
if
is
you were to grow,
sustainable.
so if you were to grow, do you think it'd be better? Do you make more money if you're a bigger business?
Yes, absolutely.
What are the challenges in terms of I spoke to Anam the other day, and he spoke about the challenges with Chinese clothing, fake clothing. How do you guys compete? I mean, how do you compete with like big brands and these international brands bringing in all these cheap clothing? How do you compete with that? Come again? Like, how do we compete with big brands? Is that what you're asking? Yeah, big brands and also the companies like the Chinese clothing, like the cheap fashion that you guys compete with. Honestly, that is a big challenge. Yeah. That is a big challenge. I don't know like what we could do to avoid that, but I think the awareness, talking about it, and letting people, making people aware that guys support local brands. I think that's one of the only options. Because how do we control people with their choices? You know but I think it still has to do with faith, man, and passion. I mean, God has graced us with sufficiency. So I don't know, like it just has to do with passion. Just be driven by your passion and nothing else. I don't know. Like it's really a huge challenge. I don't want to lie. These online cheap brands and stuff, they are a huge challenge. So would you say that you guys, how closely do you work with other small businesses in your space? Do you say there is a bit of work, collaboration? It's just not there? It's not there. I think people that do that successfully are big brands that are able to collaborate. Us as small business owners, I think it's kind of a challenge because I want to make money. The other person also wants to make money, and I want to make money through my creativity. I want my work to go out there more than collaborating. I think maybe we still need to educate ourselves when it comes to collaborations and stuff. It might work. Yeah, I think we just need to educate ourselves more in collaborations because I think it's gonna work in our advantage. Otherwise, we don't really collaborate as much as I would love to. Oh, that's good, man. Yeah. I feel like there's you're mentioning so many other challenges within your space, which is very interesting for me. I like to learn about challenges in people's spaces. What has been your hardest lesson that you've learned so far in business? My hardest lesson, yeah, is that, oh my gosh, the hardest lesson is that the reality of starting a business is that you start small, like as in really small. You don't like. I think but I don't blame it. It's good to be inspired by designers that you watch and see, but then we don't really know the where they started and how they started, when they started, and the challenges are different. Yeah. Yeah, is money. You don't even have the money to buy like your simple episode machine. You don't even have that 1.5 of that simple machine where you can start. Those are the realities. And number two is the marketing. I think for me, that was the biggest challenge. I couldn't market to save my life. I think my insecurities, yeah, the insecurities of like feeding yourself with like watching designers, watching runway shows and stuff, and then you look at your work and you see like, is this work like being on a runway? Those kind of things. I think we also need to like, just limit ourselves of like with gladly sending information that we're not gonna use. In reality. So yeah, for me that was the biggest challenging. Marketing was one of them. Like I couldn't market my business as much. So I only designed for a few group of people that know me and then word of mouth. Otherwise, taking it out there, I think it was a huge challenge. Damn. That's very interesting, man. What inspires you? Like when you're seeing, okay, I need to design something, and what are the things that you feed yourself that will inspire you to design something? I love watching events, like your red carpet events. Yeah. I love also learning about other cultures' clothing, like their original, like how they dress up. When our vendors, their cultural, their traditional attires and stuff, and then Xhosa, Zulu and stuff. So that inspires my creativity actually. That's great. Imagine designs, right? And then I draft them, and then I get inspired by the kind of fabrics to use by culture, and yeah, so on and so forth. But I'm very good in just drafting like a design. So you're a very visual person, like you see stuff before you even before they come to life, basically. Oh, yeah, man, that's so great. That's so inspiring. Yeah. Maybe if we could just ask one more question around challenges. In South Africa, what are your main gripes? What are your main issues currently with South Africa in terms of your business?
My main issues here is that we are not designers don't have platforms for training, if that makes sense. Like there are like in other, let's say if a person is an accountant, there are companies to hire you for training, for internships, for staff. So here it's more private owned. It's individuals that own like clothing boutiques. And there are no one hires a fresh designer from varsity for training. Asebenze like a proper like a job as a designer under a company, I don't know if there is. I think there are very few of them, but we do have that challenge. If as a designer you come straight out of varsity, you start your own thing.
So there's no like proper internship to guide you to teach you industry lessons that you could learn from other people that have been in the space for some time, right?
Practically, you know, practically. Otherwise, verbally, there's a lot of information. But when it comes to practically, let's say it's, a child from rural areas goes to varsity, study fashion designing. You hear like you are taught, you go to workshops, but then you don't have the capacity to buy the equipment. So that means you're gonna stay at home doing nothing. You can't even go. You can't wake up every day and say you're going to work as a designer. You're coming back. You're going to work as a designer. You're coming back, and then accumulate the capital to start your own business. That's it. And we don't have such.
How do you then plan to solve that? I think then this is a question that you guys should be solving. I mean, you're in this space. Why aren't you trying to solve that?
That is one of my biggest passions, actually. I think that's my dream to one day own to be in a space where now I don't have to wake up and be like, I need to make five clothes today or tomorrow. I just need to wake up and make sure that new designers come along. I have a space, I've got the equipment, you guys come and design,
Yeah.
attend workshops and then come and design and then start your own thing. So
Yeah.
I wish like that's one of my biggest passions. That one
Yeah,
day,
that's
one day.
Do you think you should be I genuinely think you should that's something you should be working towards. Then I think this is an interesting time for me to ask, what's your big dream? Like what's that big goal when you're like, okay, I would have made it if I'm yeah.
Whew, I would have made it if
Yeah.
to own a boutique that gets hired in big stages.
What a big
Like a boutique that, pardon?
what okay, I'm gonna let you finish, but also please answer what are big stages also?
South Africa, Miss S18. What else? What other big stages? Like your big events, or maybe let's say, what's this? What's this? There's an event that always happens in Durban. Horse what?
July.
That
Durban
showcases
July.
a lot of clothes. Durban July, yeah. But then Durban July, mostly it's always individual designers. But I wish like there was like a space where like there's a they showcase like clothes because that's what they do there.
Yeah.
So
That's
spaces
fair.
like that.
I just need to understand what you meant by big stages.
Oh, okay. That
What's the biggest misconception that people generally have about your industry?
that the moment you start, you've got a lot of money for yourself. The moment people say you own a business, they assume that you have money.
Yeah.
That is a lie. You
Far
don't
from the
have
truth,
money.
right?
Yeah. Because the truth is that when you have money as a when you start a business, right? As a
Yeah.
designer, you only have money to invest, to be honest.
To reinvest into the business and use stuff.
Yeah.
Damn, okay. I
And
completely
then
understand.
you will get the money as time goes. I won't lie. I'm not gonna say that you won't have money. You will have money. As long as you're still passionate about what you're doing and you are passionate about growing it, you will have it. But the moment you start, you don't have the money.
That's true. Thank you so much. Now this is the section where I call the plug session. How do we help you? Where do we find you? How does someone that wants to buy something from you reach out to you? Where do we find you?
Okay. Okay, my business is Beaks Collection. I'm a fashion designer. I design clothing. I conceptualize and construct clothes at the same time. And I am also a personal stylist. So, how you find me is through my social media. I am Bandi underscore Ndolo on Instagram, Bandi Ndolo on Facebook, and I also do have a TikTok account, but it's quite new. I haven't uploaded a lot of stuff, but watch the space. It's also Bandi Ndolo on TikTok. Uh that's where you find me. Yeah, that's also just to explain what I do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so as I said that I'm a designer, I do clothing and stuff. I also do personal styling as well because I did further my studies as a personal stylist. And what I do is that I do wardrobe planning and organizing. I do color consultation and body analysis. I help individuals to achieve their goal in their personal style, right? Whether you're trying to change your life, just like when a person changes their life when they go to gym, right? They have a personal trainer to change their lives. It should also balance, have a personal stylist to help you achieve your desired image of a person. It helps professionally, it helps with self esteem as well. So that's what I do.
Awesome, man. I appreciate this conversation.